Excuse me. Welcome, everybody. Two view. What is going on? We had like 20 people. Okay, here we go. Everybody's piling now. Okay. Yes, yes, yes. Dude, you've got to be kidding me. Alright, what is going on? Think about any announcements, things I need to go over. Hope all of you on the old calendar had a blessed feast of St. Peter and Paul, the all laudable apostles. And dude, this has got to be an AI. There's no way. What? Gotta show you this. It's so crazy. Oh, well, hold on a second. I need to. Yeah, David, did you hear the one of the saints today is from Scotland? Uh, Saint Servanus. I'm gonna look that up because I don't know much about. The only place I've been in Scotland was Edinburgh. I presented a paper at the University of Edinburgh. I actually really liked Edinburgh. Although the weather is actually worse there than Dublin, Ireland, where I was living. Um, 1 second, let me try to find. Some information. Not much. 5th century. Disciple of Saint Palladius. In the Isles of Orkney. Never been there. Yeah, is that far north? Have you read Dr. Schwade's article? No. Is it worth it? Big shout out to Dave, our regular contributor, Dave, Philippian, $10. I was getting ready tonight's discussion on internalism, externalism. Sorry, note, yep. Getting excited about that. For tonight, thank you, Dave, for our regular contributor. Donates $10. Okay, there was something else I was going to show you. 1 second, let me check the Discord. I don't see any DMs. Do I see any DMs? You DM me? Oh, I see it. What's the answer? His answer, yes or no? It's always the same. I've never heard anybody respond. He answers no. Oh man, I got a neck ache. How to be calm and speak slow. That's really hard. Practice. Yeah, sorry, Noah. I found it. Yes, morality is mind dependent. I think most people would say that. Anyways, what I was going to bring up, and I need to check. Nobody seems to be answering this question about whether we even refer to the same entity in God. Is I already admitted, yeah, in the empirical world, simply having radically different notions or senses in which something's represented doesn't mean that it's referring to something. I get that. Like, I admit. And that it's even possible with mental objects that doesn't necessarily follow. But sorry, it's with mental objects, and I'm not saying God is a mental object. I'm saying that it operates, as far as reference, much more like mental objects. So all the examples that these guys are giving in which you can have radically or even contradictory different senses that still pick out the same thing, they're all empirical examples. So it's like, well, we can find that out, and we know they're the same entity because we empirically investigate that. Like, you can't do that with mental objects, with games, with, American, legal systems, Roman law, let alone God. And so when you change any one of those things, then it actually refers to the one that I always use too. For example, if you change, if you learn the Pythagorean theorem, okay, and then it gets corrupted. Somebody comes to you and be like, "Oh, that's not the Pythagorean theorem," and they put in an additional, like, I don't know, instead of a squared plus b squared, they put in something else on top of that, or they take something away, or they change it to equals c cubed or something like that. And they're going around and saying, well, that's the Pythagorean theorem. They're no longer referring to the Pythagorean theorem. Oh yeah, but you see, both people have commonalities. They both have a squared and b squared in their formula. That's how mental objects work. So they never answer this. That it's like, well, so how do you know, without begging the question of what you want to prove, that it's referring to the same entity if it operates a lot more like mental objects, and you change any one of the the conjuncts and the long series of conjuncts, like you would a formula or the rules of a game or something, that it would change the referent. Now, of course, there's a way that we can talk about, like, remember Trent's argument was, well, if we're not referring to the same thing, we're not having a disagreement. Well, there's different levels of different disagreement. The disagreement between various heretical takes and other religions is, are the concepts and the predicates you're saying actually refer to the thing that we're talking about? So that's kind of a second order or kind of meta language. That's why I made that. And I remember I got them to concede, like, and that's the best you can get for a philosopher, like, that might be possible if that were, and they said I might even accept that if they thought it was more worked out, which we couldn't in, the few minutes left. But it's like, yeah, you could be talking about it like a conceptual level. And remember what I argued, the referent isn't a kind of object language pointing out and attaching to the God, the one true God. So it ends up being kind of self-referential. So the conversation and disagreement is whether the concepts belong to the thing that we're saying. Just hand wave. None of these people address any of this. And so that's why I want to bring on, and he said yes, but we haven't picked a day yet. Is Dr. Yerby. Let's see if he wrote back yet. I mean, this is... And remember, he's a Roman Catholic philosopher. He was also a student of Swinburne. And I keep hearing people say that, like, oh, this is just ortho bros. It's like, that's not, first of all, it's so stupid that people are even using that term in a derogatory sense. The arguments from me, let me put it this way. Somebody started criticizing me that, like, some Orthodox guy, about ready to contact his priest too, or tell him, be like, do you act disrespectful to all clergy? Do you talk this way to your priest? There's a saltiness and just, like, direct insults sometimes. I'm like, does your priest know that you, like, or you just... First of all, the chrism's probably not even wet on you. Like, just... I mean, do you know that we used to implement the canons that neophytes for 3 years had to be quiet? Like, maybe we should start implementing this again. Absolute... And again, it's not because I'm special, but I take serious the notion of respect and hierarchy. There's even clergy that I don't personally like and, have had issues with. I still kiss their hands and respect, like, the office of... It's just... What's Rodney Dangerfield say? I tell you, no respect. Anyways, I get accused of mental gymnastics and... what is it that people always, when they don't get something? Well, it's just playing semantical games. It's like... Yeah, because language doesn't matter in talking about God. I mean, what a stupid... And second of all, just because you can't understand a philosophical argument doesn't mean that I'm doing word salad and word wizardry and stuff like that. It means that you're incapable of understanding. And you don't need a philosophical argument. Then just, again, this person accused me of trying to reduce God to just philosophical. I didn't work through theories of semantics and reference to come to this conclusion. I already knew it. I knew it in my heart. I knew it from the fathers, right? So why am I getting into this philosophical stuff? Because there's people out there using philosophical theories to go against what we Orthodox believe. Again, it's not my position. Don't get mad at me because I can do philosophy and go toe-to-toe with people who are developing philosophical theories of reference to say the other position and defend. I mean, how silly is this? All right. Let me look at the tip question. Justin Hanley donates $10. Thank you so much. God bless you, Father Deacon. Pertaining to Andrew's debate with Natty Kincia. If the soul and nous are genderless, according to Saint Justin, are created simultaneous with the body, the soul knows gender, its motherhood. I looked at it really hard. Let me give you a book recommendation. Father Deacon Proto Deacon Father Patrick book, Origins Revenge. So one of the problems that why this comes up actually comes from Aristotle, is that Aristotle didn't think there was an essential difference between male and female, because the soul, so in other words, the soul is kind of genderless, and the distinction is just accidental in the way that it formed matter and was received, just like snub nose or different. Now, unfortunately, some of the even St. Maximus too, accept this, and you have now some of the liberal Orthodox using that. So, Protodeacon Patrick Mitchell, Origin of Revenge, goes into that and counters that. The reason why it's a pejorative, and first of all, I came up with that term as a term of endearment many years ago when I used to live in California, when I was doing stuff with the Young Adults League and some of the young Orthodox, teenage into the 20s. Like we would have, when I was working with Father Constantine, Trump Power, and some of the other priests, and we would do stuff, and we went to do a monastery tour at St. Barbara's, and I call them the Ortho Bros. Like that just seemed natural to, it was a term of endearment, and then I just kind of catched on and went through on the internet, and then people took that and changed it into a pejorative and used it in a derogatory sense. And I want to bring up the fact that, do you know who does that? It's a leftist tactic. It's a leftist liberal. They use like carnivore bros, fitness bro, like, and it's like, why are you using these weaponized terms of the left? Like, that's ridiculous. Now, I get it. I generally know what you're, as far as a net, trying to capture and stuff like that. And I was talking with, thanks, Justin, the Origins Revenge. But now we have people like, you know what the biggest problem in the Orthodox Church is? Orthodox. It's like, really? Isn't it funny how all these people focus on young guys who are excited about the faith, usually Z generation, maybe probably spend too much time online, maybe you're a bit, reactionary, but it's nothing to, like, that's just typical of that age. They haven't, in principle, they're right about a lot of stuff. But it isn't a subclass or something like that. It's just something about that age group. You haven't got the maturity of when and how to say something. Aristotle says the problem is it's easy to be angry. It's much more difficult to be angry at the right way, at the right time, and anything's like this. But, of course, they're reacting to real issues and chaos in the world. And I don't worry, other than general pedagogical stuff that I think about and worry about, like even teaching in the university and college, about how do I reach these kids, right? Educators constantly thinking about this. Don't worry about ortho bros. They actually do pretty well in orthodoxy, and whatever misgivings and vices they have, orthodoxy heals them pretty fast. So that's the focus on. Do you know what these people never talk about and criticize? Leftist infiltrators in the church and liberals. Personally, my experience is, we all come into the church and with baggage, wrong ideas. I had lots of them, and I had to let orthodoxy heal me ideologically, politically. And we all hope for that to be healed. I find they do pretty well and are healed fairly fast and, change their positions. You know who doesn't? Who's much more resistant? Liberals and leftists. So whatever incorrect, isn't that interesting? Well, nobody talks about, that's the real problem, is that we have liberals and leftists in the, do you hear on any of the, the priests out there, the big channels and stuff, going after that? No, it's the ortho bros are the problem. It's like, give me a break. One second. There's $20. Thank you so much. Thank you, Father. Thank you. I gotta see this. This is what I wanted to show you. They just can't help but step in it every single time. This has got to be an AI thing, obviously. I wish we wouldn't say worship, obviously. That's not a rigid designate. I mean, that's the Arabic word for God. Obviously, for Orthodox Arabic Christians, we're not referring to. So that's not helpful. But I get it, Jim Bob, what you're saying. Anyways, look at this. Mix it all in. The fact that this guy actually thought this was a man. Put the Pachi Mama in there too. The perennialist. And really, isn't that... I mean, this is what's behind all of this, right? The reason why we're even getting into these arguments is because on the ground, we see, of course, the Roman Catholics are have devolved into perennialism. You can see it. Praying at pagan temples, we're all worshiping the same God. It's just, so... It's just we have more of the truth, the truth. It's like a John Hicks perennialism. Pachamama praying with the Muslims, kissing the Quran, And so, what did the Roman Catholics do? Well, let's just abstract from that and not look at that. Look at my beautiful philosophical theory that I created here, where I can reinterpret what that really means when we actually say, do we worship the same, So all y'all getting, like, that's what's really caused this. And what they're doing is, well, don't look over that. Like, look, it's a red herring. Look, it doesn't really, it's like, they do the same thing with the blessing of same-sex couples. Well, if we abstract from that and just look at the proposition and analyze it, doesn't have to mean that. Like, it's like, we know it. Like, this is so crazy. Oh, here's another one that I would share with you. This was hilarious. And by the way, I would have to say that I'm not going to throw all Roman Catholics in. Like, I work, again, in a Roman Catholic college with Roman Catholic scholars. I would never hear them make these sorts of arguments that you find on these Twitter profiles and stuff. And what I realized, I'm like, well, they're children. So my criticism is, specifically when I bring this up, is that these kind of Reddit tier arguments that you see on Twitter, like, it's not the best of the Roman Catholic community. It's the worst. They're children, terminally online, probably 16, 17 years old. And you can tell the way that, like, people talk and the way that they kind of argue and stuff like this. And so, one of the things that I thought was funny was in Jim Bob's stream, some guy came in and they just blatantly lie. Which Orthodox church? You have 2 Orthodox churches excommunicated. Like, that didn't happen. There's no jurisdictions that excommunicated them. Like, Moscow did not excommunicate. They're in what's called an administrative schism. You can commune at either one of those, being in one of those. This has happened under Rome, too. Like, so this is not a win, it's a lose for you. And they'll just be like, oh, cope, right? Do you think my colleagues say stuff like that and make those kinds of arguments? Nope. These are arguments children make. Okay. So then so all this came up that, oh, you and Jay don't, listen to your patriarchs. And they said, first of all, it's not my patriarchs. Well, Patriarch Kirill and the EP said that we worship the same God. Well, first of all, just tell me you don't know anything about Orthodox ecclesiology. I mean, that's not a dogma. Like, somebody giving a personal opinion for diplomatic reasons because they're under Muslim yoke and there's political issues, in Russia with Muslims and stuff like that. You're saying it's dogma? And a patriarch saying something is not binding. What's binding, tell me you don't know anything about normative authority, is not personal statements of patriarchs. It's synods. A bishop doesn't even have authority apart from the conciliarity of other bishops, the synodality. So, this is a total straw man and just lies. Like, either they're just too dumb and they're 12 years old and they don't know anything, or they know better. That's not how it actually works. Number 2 is the constant confusion, and Protestants have the same thing, between the categories of epistemology, epistemic categories, and normative or legal categories. Well, if there's 2 patriarchs or bishops that say 2 different things, how do we know? I'm like, what do you mean, how do you know? It's called your mind. Like, guy accused me, they're so Protestant. Okay, you're telling me if I have two bishops in the Orthodox Church, and one gives one answer to a math problem, the other says, you're literally confused about how you know, you look at the evidence and use your mind and figure out who's wrong. Now, how something's settled ecclesially or legally, that's a different question. Those are what councils and synods are for. I got this guy to literally say online that using your mind to find out what's actually true is Protestant. I'm like, congratulations. I mean, what a comment. You know what the papacy gives us? We don't have to use our mind anymore. Then the guy asked me, would you actually think that you can know things outside the Orthodox Church? It's like, yeah. How do you think I discovered the truth of the Orthodox Church? I was outside of it. And when it comes to theological stuff, everybody's in the same boat. You're going to have to look at the history, the councils, the fathers. And you're going to have to see like what everybody's... You know, you having somebody settle something legally doesn't get you, well, that's how I know. I just have the person tell me. Well, that's Protestantism. I can't help these people. Like, if you're at that point, how is the Pope saying something going to tell you how you know? Well, because of infallibility. Okay. Tell me what stuff's infallible and what's not. How do you know that? Because you would say that certain stuff's not binding. First of all, they don't even know their own canon law and theology. But number two, it's self-defeating because Dictatus Papae says... Yeah, I know, I gotta get going. I got 1 minute. Dictatus Papae says, no man can judge the first seat. So if you can't judge the first seat, you can't make a judgment on what's infallible and what's not. If you can't, and your argument hinges on what's infallible is how we know when the Pope says, then you don't know. Congratulations, QED. Oh, man, my neck. All right. Thank you, guys. I wish we could go on, but maybe tomorrow morning. Think about bringing questions. I know. Well, remember what St. Paul says, that people suppress through unrighteousness the knowledge. One second, somebody writing me. I don't think so. 200 characters wanted $400. I don't have a setting on that, so I don't know what that means. All right, God bless you guys. May the Lord keep you. Short but sweet stream. Thank you so much for the donations and super chats. Until next time, God bless.